program. They want to bomb because they're Nazis, they're crazy. They want to kill all the Jews, and the Jews have been down that road before. To our friends in Israel, God bless you. I'm with you in every way. To all the anti-Semitites, to all the isolationists, I don't believe. Forget it. I'm not with you. I'm with Israel. I will be with Israel to our dying day. They're the best ally we could hope for. So we have a commander-in-chief in President Trump, who I think is Ronald Reagan plus, plus, plus. He's told the Iranians, you mess with the Strait of Hormuz, I'm going to destroy you beyond recognition. So tonight, I hope the American people understand that President Trump is doing what he had to do. You could not ignore this information and be a protector of America. The evidence was beyond clear. They do not want a nuclear power program. They want a bomb. And the only way they won't get a bomb is for somebody to stop them. And that somebody is Bibi and Trump. God bless you both.
Yeah, right here. Mr. Secretary, you have said that the U.S. military has essentially aerial superiority, naval superiority over Iran, yet we're not escorting ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Why? How did you not plan for this?
We planned for it. We recognize it. Because ultimately we want to do it sequentially in a way that makes the most sense for what we want to achieve, and ensure that we're sending the right signals to the world when we do so. So when Chris Wright speaks or we speak, it's based on a full assessment of what we're up against, what we want to say to the world, how that we want them to see and understand the conflict. It's like this whole idea of the war widening. That's what the press wants to make it look like it's widening and chaos is ensuing. No, we're actually closing in on grabbing hold of and controlling what objectives we want to achieve and how we want to achieve them. It's called shaping operations and setting the conditions. But when you shape the environment, you don't always tell. I mean, foolish political leaders and foolish military leaders of the past will hang an exact deadline on it. Or here's exactly when we'll do what we're going to do. Or here's how long it's going to take us. And then if you meet that, maybe you meet it. But if you don't, you fail. And if you're far beyond, we know exactly what we're shaping and why. We're sending those signals working across the interagency. The Strait of Hormuz is something we've paid attention to from the beginning. And the American people can rest assured we will ensure that our interests are advanced, no doubt. We're not going to let reporting lead us or force our hand into indicating what happened in a particular situation, because the truth matters. So I can report that CENTCOM has designated an investigator.
دخترکان بیگناه بیا کمک رسیده سنگ دلان روسیا صبر چگونه می کنی بر این همه جفا علی بغض چگونه می خوری یاد بده به ما علی
This was an unprovoked war, and Israel pulled us into it, pulled America into it. And so those are 13 lives that should not have been lost.
Hi, friends. This video is to cover the 13th and 14th of March. As things have slowed down, I mean, there's still things happening, obviously, in the Gulf and in this war with Iran. But they have slowed down as far as the volume. So I'm not making these videos once every 2 days. Maybe when something heats up, I'll start making them once a day again. So it's not to make very small videos, but to make larger videos. Okay, so first, I listen so you don't have to, as I've said before, so you don't have to suffer through it. I listen to Pete Hegseth's, I don't know what to call it. I mean, it was his briefing to the press. But to tell you the truth, I've never heard so many lies, so many big lies, so many damned big lies, compacted into such a small amount of time. Sorry, camera slipped out of the holder. As Pete Hegseth was able to pack in there into that little bit of time. It was amazing. I mean, I don't think the man said a single word of truth, except maybe if he introduced himself. It was just an amazing thing to watch. Obfuscation at its finest. I mean, he was on Fox News, and anybody that works for any of the major American news outlets or Western outlets has to have at least a minor in lying through his teeth. So you're listening to it and you're going, how do your teeth not fall out and your tongue not rot off? Say so many lies. I mean, the U.S. position is, in a scientific term, a well thought through scientific term, is screwed. And you can tell, by the way, they keep changing. The rhetoric keeps changing. The goals keep changing. They've lost the plot. They're trying to hold on to the theme here, but the theme is running away very, very quickly. An example is the girls' school that was hit as the first wave. It's gone from we don't know anything about it to the Iranians probably hit it themselves with one of their missiles to they may have owned there's tomahawks all over the place. They bought a tomahawk and they hit it themselves to it was old maps to Palantir's program just, it popped out a bunch of targets and we are mindless robots that aren't worth the salary we make and we just follow whatever our great mind, the computer of Palantir, tells us to do and kill whom it tells us to kill. Well, that's where we're standing right now. The American military is a bunch of mindless automatons that cannot filter, do not even look at what is given to them by the ubermind that is Palantir, and they just carry out orders and kill on command. Because pretty soon you don't even need the U.S. military. You can all send them home or deep six them because it's just going to be Palantir. I mean, that's where it is at this point. This is the logic train as far as it has gotten us on that school, and it's not just that. It's everything. The U.S. military they're scrambling. Look, those bases are being literally destroyed. We see in this video 5 American fuelers that are burning and that were hit and are damaged. Some are saying that they can be repaired. I don't know, but either way, it's not going to be anytime soon. One was shot down. It didn't just fall out of the sky. I love this. It was flying and just decided to go ground itself really quickly, just in a big fireball. It was shot down. It was shot down by Iraqi militias. I heard about this about an hour or so through my sources before it went on live. 5 or 6 people killed, and then the military was, it's 4. Well, no, that's not true either. And no, it's not like 14 or 12 U.S. Military have been killed. Like it's been saying, Kaiser Slaughter and Kaiser Slaughter, K-Town, they've closed the military hospital to the civilians, to the civilians that were family members. That's it. It's closed. It's only there to cover the dead and dying. And I'm guessing that part-time position to shift through and catalog the possessions of the dead, the KIAs, is probably a full-time position. Probably has a couple assistants right now. Because it's got to be it's got to be piling up there, backing up. And another reason I say this, because I've heard this through one layer, and it came directly from, I'm not going to say which base, and I'm pretty sure it's all the bases in the Persian Gulf. Interceptors are out. That's it. They're done. Iran using drones and missiles is just systematically destroying the equipment. They're hiding a lot of these losses. There's not as many personnel losses because they haven't started working on the barracks. But they have been working on command posts, the radars, the radar controls, and so on. So there are losses, human losses I'm talking about, not just equipment. Equipment is just being destroyed left and right. U.S. taxpayer is going to be on the hook for at least $200 billion just in equipment. But what shocked me, as a former armor officer, as a guy that also, even though I was still branched armor, spent a whole lot of time in infantry, and there are no bunkers. No, seriously. There are no bunkers. These guys have no place to hide. The Saudis already told the U.S. military, go bugger yourself. We're neutral and survive however you wish to survive. We're not going to help you. So that's that. Second of all, there are no bunkers. I don't understand this. These guys were under 2 very big delusions. One, any war with Iran is going to last only a couple days. We're on day 16 with no end in sight. Two, oh, I'm sorry, by the way, Trump's already beaten Iran. Iran is always destroyed. Everything's been destroyed. Everything's burning. We're the biggest, baddest, greatest military that ever existed. But they keep shooting. Two, they were counting 100% on their air defense capabilities. The reason I'm silent right now is I'm allowing all this to sink into your minds fully, to comprehend how idiotically stupid the leadership of the American military really is. I mean, I knew some of these generals. I knew most of them were just, how do we used to put it in the military, pardon my French, asshats. These guys, they were moronic, we knew, but they were this moronic. I mean, just in case you build some bunkers. No, there are no bunkers. So when Iran switches over to taking out American military staff, they're going to have a field day. This alone should put at least a few generals or admirals in the brig. And then their CNN careers, or their Raytheon careers, or Lockheed Martin careers, General Electric careers. That alone, the fact that was such an oversight. I mean, from a military standpoint, this is insane. You're on the front edge of a possible war, and you're so blindly, stupidly, moronically, fanatically true believers in your relatively crappy anti-air system that you don't build any bunkers. I had one person who used to work for they were building the THAADs, and he said that their joke there was a THAAD missile couldn't hit a slow-moving barn, and it's proven that to be true. And these are the systems that are defending. I know Patriot it's gotten better. It's gotten better from a total failure in Desert Storm, a totally very expensive failure considering what the dollar was worth back then too. Now, and then they didn't build any bunkers. Amazing, isn't it? And, I talked to Ritter, as those that have been to the channel for at least 2 weeks have seen, and we were discussing the 2,000 troops stuck, plus including in the Green Zone embassy area in Baghdad stuck in Iraq, and Ritter's like, yeah, they'll get them out, they'll form an armored fist and convoy them out. Day 16, nothing. More and more videos are coming out of heavy shelling, constant combat. I mean, those guys, it looks a lot like those guys are just left out there to die. And the Western media and the Trump White House are silent about this. As you see right there in those pictures, that's an anti-aircraft system, basically what they put on ships. It's a phalanx type system that has been destroyed, and that's the U.S. Embassy. Suicide, kamikaze, whatever you want to call it. A drone took it out. The underline suicide because it's Iranians, and Iranians are suicidal. This is how they manipulate you slightly in one direction or another, but constantly. Slightly but constantly. Slightly but constantly. So those guys are screwed. There's videos of fire coming up from one of the American bases in Iraq. The Iraqi militias are getting bolder and bolder because they know they can do this, and they see that there's no aid coming for these guys. By the time the Department of War gets its head out of its arse, just like there's no evacuation for American civilians, Russian civilians have been evacuated. Georgian civilians, with the help of Russia, have been evacuated, including the mayor of Tbilisi and his family. His brother-in-law is a very close friend of mine. And Russia helped get them out. Lots of other civilians have been evacuated out of the Persian Gulf area, or out of Iran if they wanted to leave. By Russia, by other countries going through Azerbaijan or going through Turkey, Americans aren't being evacuated. So that already should tell you something about Mr. Orange Man, yeah, how much did they think about Americans? 0, baby. This war is over in 4 days, day 16. And they're still stuck there. What's the State Department doing to get people out? I mean, there's probably at least 100, 200,000 Americans. If you think about it, we're not just talking about the rich and famous or whatever running around the sheikdoms. We're talking about engineers. We're talking about professors. We're talking about oil field workers. We're talking about lots and lots of other things. All you have to do is open LinkedIn or open Monster or any of these other job sites and look up how many jobs were always posted under those Persian Gulf areas. Americans are a very large part of that workforce, the elite workforce. True, the manual labor went to the Filipinos, it went to the Indians, it went to the Pakistanis, but the rest of it, I mean, was done by Westerners, particularly Americans. Aramco, by the way, it's probably half Americans, if not more. So this is what we're looking at. And I mean, they're not being evacuated as far as I know. They're hunkered down and waited out. And if the food and the water ends, oh well, SOL, baby. Not our problem. Oh, and pay your taxes, by the way. It's tax season. Pay your taxes. You can't make this stuff up. I mean, really. They've literally just dropped those people to survive the best they can. That's your government for you. That's the government you pay 30, 40% taxes. I mean, I know compared to Europeans, you're getting off scot-free. Those tax serfs pay 60, 70%, no, 50, 60, 70% taxes. Which isn't even right to call them serfs, because serfs didn't pay that much. They didn't pay their lords even nearly that much. They paid the church 10 and their lords 10, maybe 15% of their effort, and the rest went to their families. So these are slaves. They're not serfs. They're slaves, tax slaves, to be whipped and milked to the end, even if they're stuck out in the middle of nowhere, surviving as best they can. Pathetic, very pathetic. Not hearing a word from American companies either about how they're getting their people out. Nope, they're written off, baby. Maybe something will be there for us to come back. But I'll tell you one thing, unlike the U.S. military, bases, it's like Halliburton, which has been flattened, one of the bases. I used to work for Halliburton. Basically, Halliburton, other companies like Schlumberger and so on, they actually built bunkers for their people. They didn't have air defense to take care of everything, or so they thought. Oh, yeah. They actually built bunkers, so they're more survivable than the U.S. military. Go figure. So as this has all been cranking up, we get the Trump has attacked Carr Island. Well, he's attacked Carr Island, the military infrastructure there. He's been magnanimous and hasn't touched the oil. The oil infrastructure. Well, there's a couple of reasons he didn't touch the oil infrastructure. One, he wants to own it. He's told the Israelis to back the hell off, not to blow up any more oil infrastructure like the biological disaster that the Israelis are guilty of. That's going to be torturing, murdering the smart apes that they consider everybody who's not genetically of their ilk in 10 different countries. Do look up what Zionists actually believe about everybody who's not of their genetic, at least touched by their genetic greatness. They're basically just a little bit above a smart ape. So I guess to the Zionists, say whatever. A bunch of those people die off. Who gives a damn? They're not ours. That's Zionism for you. That is Zionism for you in a nutshell. So yeah, so these people, I mean, they're insane. I mean, obviously enough. But Trump wants to own. I mean, his motive for all of this has changed so much from nuclear weapons. Iran will never have a nuclear. Iran hasn't been building a nuclear weapon. It's like going over to your neighbor across the street and go, I'm going to beat the crap out of you if you cross the street. And they're going, I wasn't planning on coming over to your yard across the street. I don't even like you. Why would I cross the street? I'm going to beat you if you cross the street. I'm not going to let you cross that street. You're not going to cross the street. I'm not crossing any street. I'm sitting here having a beer. What the hell's wrong with you? And then the neighbor keeps going over and over. Finally, the neighbor takes a bat and goes over. Well, I'm going to make sure you don't cross that street, so I'm going to beat you. That's America. That's that psychopathic Karen neighbor. That is America. America is Karen writ large, except with weapons. But now that America Karen went over there, started beating that neighbor's pulling out a shotgun and starts whacking at Karen. And Karen doesn't know what the hell to do. You're not supposed to do that. I'm Karen with a baseball bat. How dare you shoot back at me? And this should be over in 10 minutes, but we've been going back and forth for 2 hours now. I don't know what to do. So that is America, Karen writ large. And it's desperate. Turkey, you must join us. Turkey's going, no. Saudi Arabia, as Lindsey Graham was out there. Saudi Arabia, you have to be in this fight. Damn it, we protected you. Well, no, you actually just used my yard to have a barbecue, but you didn't really actually protect me, did you now? No, I'm not going to go in there. You're on your own. Bugger off. And it's turning around, but it sees a couple small neighbors in a shack down the road. They're called Britain. And they're going, well, just because, this neighbor's over there, I'm going to park my truck over there and I'm going to shoot water balloons at him or take spot shots from my truck, and it's going to be parked in your yard. And that neighbor's going, oh, yeah, I've got my little shack because I'm half bankrupt. And the ants are trying to tear it down because, they don't like my shack. And the ants are actually the indigenous population of my land. But I'll let you park your stuff here because I'm not really part of this fight, except I really am part of this fight. Whoops. This is what we're looking at. I mean, this is the idiot train. And it turns out that Karen's backyard is back to another neighbor that's sitting there kicking Karen in the balls because, Karen's on testosterone. Telling her, go fight, go fight. That would be Israel. This is the idiocy writ large that we're dealing with, obviously. And anybody hasn't realized that yet has been living under a rock. Oh, but plenty of people haven't. They repeat whatever like good parrots. I mean, I've seen people I used to work with and others. I don't go on Facebook maybe once a month or so, once every 2 months. I've been on there a couple of times lately, though, because, it's interesting to see what people are saying from the American side. And you see these people just parroting mindlessly anything that the U.S. government tells them. It's like, geez, can you think for yourself? And you explain to them something, they go, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Oh, that's interesting. And 10 minutes later, parroting again. I mean, this is programming at its finest. This is down to the genetic level programming. They're incapable of assessing the information they're being given that counteracts what the government has programmed into their heads. Or their ministers, if they're evangelical Zionists, which several of them are. Like, geez, seriously, people, you're so brainwashed. I don't know what it would take to crash them out of their system. It's incredible to watch. So we'll get to oil. So yeah, Trump didn't bomb it because several things. One, he wants that oil infrastructure, not because he's magnanimous and kind and has high morality, which is the only thing that limits his action, is his super high morality. We've heard that from Trump directly several times. No, not just for foreign policy, but for internal policy too. I posted that video before. So, Mr. High Morality, he wants that oil. He wants to control that oil. He wants that oil infrastructure. And there's another point, and I'll get into oil in general in a minute. And there's another point here. Trump has said what? Or rather, the Iranians said what? You hit ours, we will wipe out everything in the Persian Gulf. And while the U.S. basically has enough oil, it will surge oil prices past $102 it closed at. No matter what the U.S. is doing, I'm about to get to that. It'll surge prices well into 200s, and the problem is the fundamentals isn't just slightly damaged, or in some cases pretty damaged, oil infrastructure. It'll be destroyed oil infrastructure that will take literally years to put back up and get going again. That means there will actually be oil shortages. And on top of that, welcome EU and particularly EU, tighten those belts, baby. This is going to be a year of hunger. The Hunger Games have started for the EU. 20 20% or 30%, I'm sorry, of the urea-based fertilizer comes out of the Gulf. It's produced through natural gas, and the ammonia that's taken out of that natural gas that's cleaned out while doing the LNG process. I was a supply chain director in a Italian construction company on the project, supply chain director, as we were building one of the 3 phases of the giant LNG plant in Amur that fed both China and fed Russia off the Power of Siberia 1 pipeline. And one of the things that was feeding Russia, by the way, was the filtrations out of the natural gas of ammonia, and various compounds of ammonia, and that went to the giant plant that was being built next door by Luke Oil to process that ammonia into useful chemicals for the chemical industry and for fertilizer. That's right, baby. So some 30% of world chemical fertilizer comes out of the Persian Gulf. Guess who makes 40% of the world's fertilizer? Chemical fertilizer. That's right, 39 or so. It's Russia, baby. It's Russia. So the EU, counting on Qatar and its suppliers there, has not only lost 20% of its gas, it's lost 30% because it's the main purchaser of its fertilizer. Now that Russian fertilizer is verboten. By the way, U.S. buys about $500 million worth of fertilizer from Russia. I'm thinking it's going to go up quite a bit after that because otherwise the U.S. will also have possible starvation. But Europe, being the ideological nimwits they are, and they're brain-dead tax slaves. I can't call them peasants. I can't call them serfs. They're actually just plain tax slaves. There's too damn many of them. And they're too fat anyways, and the EU is out to kill EU farming because the cows fart too much, so they give them drugs to kill the cows when they can't fart anymore.
Fertilizer. Those that need to buy are hurting pretty bad because we've had this huge jump in fertilizer prices because of this conflict. And with only about 30% of fertilizer coming through the Strait of Hormuz, that's, if you divide that out per day, that's about 0.09% of the world's fertilizer coming through there. And even if the U.S. only uses 30% of that, which I think is probably a really high number, that's 0.03% and per day. So we've only been in conflict for nearly 12 days here, and our fertilizer costs have jumped nearly 77%, and our corn price has only gone up by 5%. So we've got some real challenges here ahead of us.
I mean, 1984, no, not even close. Brave New World, no. At least they gave everybody drugs to keep them happy, but they kept them full, materially full too. Animal Farm, not even that. Somebody used to write a new book of dystopian reality that is the modern West, particularly the modern EU. You can take the ideas from the other 3 and plenty of other ones like Fahrenheit, but you're still going to have to add 70% more information because it has just gone so far off the deep end. That's where we're at right now. So they're going to cause starvation in Europe. Europe is going to have its first starvation probably since end of World War II or maybe end of World War I, somewhere around those areas. 80 years, absolutely. So any European country is facing starvation. Well, we may be facing it. After all, planting season, depending where you're in Europe, is now. It's starting. Northern Europe, it'll be in another month. Either way, Southern Europe, it's now. No fertilizer. You're looking at no chemical fertilizer. You're looking at yields cut in half, baby. Cut in half. Better pull out your pocketbooks and start importing. Oh, but that costs a lot of money. And when you're asking, what about the EU fertilizer industry? It's dead. It's been dead ever since they decided they were going to save money on spot prices on natural gas instead of having long-term contracts with Russia. And we're talking about, all the idiot politicians. They're still in power mostly. And spot prices, even though if you may catch them occasionally low, most of the time your spot prices you're paying well above market rate. That's why they're called spot prices. It's an emergency buy. You don't plan your economy around emergency purchases. You plan your economy over long term. So yeah, so they're most of their industry, fertilizer industry, that's particularly based on gas, which is, by the way, the majority of it. It all closed down years ago. It's done, dead, gone. Yeah, probably been knowing the Greens. They probably cut it up for ecologically clean steel to bury in some hole, to put up more windmills and chop up more birds and. By the way, those windmills, 300 tons of cement, of concrete. I'm sorry, rebarbed concrete. So there's a lot of steel involved in this. Goes into the foundation, just the foundation of every one of those windmills. 300 tons. How many buildings that actually manufacturing facilities or electric power plants or nuclear power plants could you build for that? You're not supposed to know these things. You're not. I mean, think about how deep and wide that foundation is for something that tall. When the wind blows, for it just to go and rip everything out of the ground. It's got to be pretty damn deep, wide, heavy hole anchor to keep it standing still. Yeah, physics is a mother. Yeah, and no matter how much you as Congress may want to cancel physics, they can't legislate it out. They can legislate out of the schools, and they've done a very good job of that. That American children are dumber than a rock for the most part, unless they're from rich families. But it doesn't change the laws that God created for us, that we live under. So there's that. So oil, yeah. So magnanimous Trump has allowed Russian oil to be sold. That's sitting on tankers. He's allowed Russia to sell oil. Which point Russia's laughing now. Okay, whatever you want, dementia man big. Russian oil was, nobody could turn off the sale of Russian oil. The reason Russian oil was sitting on various tankers, and not just Russia, the Gulf is full of these types of tankers from everybody else, is if you look at this chart right here, you see that oil prices were collapsing for a very long time. Up to, I'm sure, where Trump and Trump's friends made a lot of money, and oil prices went through the roof at 103 now, and we'll see what it is on Monday when markets open again. Those oil reserves were being stashed in these various places, including on the ground in various tanks, and then seaborne tankers, waiting for prices to go up, because you're producing and you're letting a small amount of it be sold while most of it's being held back to allow oil prices to re-regulate themselves upward. So yeah, there just happened to be a lot of oil lying sitting around in these tankers. Now that oil that is located in the Gulf, it's just a sitting duck to be hit or burned. And there's a lot of tankers that have already been burned. Both Iranian tankers and everybody else's tankers. So Russia has that oil underhand to sell, sure, but it's not because the U.S. But here's the point, though. Even between the U.S. releasing, the U.S. releases the amount that it's declared it's going to release, like 120 million barrels. That's like a day and a half, 2 days worth of output that the Gulf states produced. Maybe 3 days. All the oil that Russia has in reserve that it can sell or dump on the market, it's not going to cover that hole. Russia can cover the hole partially, but it cannot cover that whole hole. Not even close. Russia would have to triple, quadruple its production. It's not going to do that. First of all, that takes time. Second of all, why give away your resources that much? You keep selling, you're making money, and Russia uses almost half the oil that it produces. It uses 3 out of the 3.5, almost 4 million barrels out of the 11 million barrels it produces a day. A day. That's what Russia produces a day. So upping production even 30% would only give you an additional 2 million barrels a day. I mean, the Middle East is 25% of the world's oil per day that came out of there. And it's 2 weeks, it's all gone and not going anywhere. A lot of it's been burnt or splashing up along the tourist beaches of the Gulf states, the Persian Gulf states. So, that's killing their tourist industry while we're at it. So there's that. What do you do? I don't know what you do. You get screwed is what you do. So there's that. Next, what do we have next? So that we've already talked about the oil that cannot be replaced on that level. Either way, oil goes up. The U.S. is incapable of going up. Now, U.S. could, quite literally, because it's internally produced oil and gas, the cost of manufacturing hasn't gone up. It hasn't. The U.S. produced most of those chemicals, imported some of them, true, but the cost of manufacture hasn't really gone up. Manufacturing, in this case, I mean in refining oil into oil-based products. It hasn't gone up. But the market price has gone up, and you, the American tax slave, are paying extra because market prices have gone up. Now, if the U.S. government wanted to, it could intervene in that market and put price ceilings, and so that American producers don't ship it to better priced markets, force some kind of barriers to export. Either cut all export, which Russia does, by the way. Whenever gasoline prices start spiking because the companies start exporting outward to a better market, Russia just puts an all stop on exports. That's it. You want to sell it, you sell it internally. Sure, prices may go up to sometimes Russia walks in there and stops any price rises for like 3-4 months or half a year or something like that to keep prices at least manageable. The U.S. government could do the same thing. It won't, though. Why? Because Trump and his buddies are making money. Because the elites are making money off of you. That their restaurant fare went up 20% in price when you're a billionaire or you have hundreds of millions of dollars. You don't even notice that. You don't notice that. You don't. And most of these people don't give a damn about the average guy in the street. Some of them do. Some of them actually notice and they talk about it. So, this is, I don't know how people survive. We can't do this. We have to fix things. But the vast majority, they don't give a damn. They don't give a damn. You're the ants under their feet. So the government could do this. It's in with its legal rights to do this. Because if energy prices go up, every society in human history has been limited by the cost and availability of energy, whether it's your muscles, your horse's muscles, or your ox's muscles, or the wood you're burning, or the coal you're burning, or the steam engine you have, or the nuclear power plant you have. Whatever it is still, which is, by the way, still steam-based, basically. All energy generation. You don't really generate energy. The proper thing would be electricity excitement, because the electrons are there. You just got to excite them and get them moving up and down the wires. And you do that with magnets. But you got to keep everything the way you power that whole generator that's running on magnets and wires that go into those magnets is by moving it. And usually it's moved by steam. And then the question becomes, how do you heat that steam? Do you heat it with gas? Do you heat it with biomass, which is basically chopping trees down? Do you heat it with coal? Do you heat it with nuclear power plant? That's heating the water and creating steam. It's all steam-based. Reality speaking, that's how it runs. So your electric plant runs. You could do it with chemical-based, like with batteries, and get a current going, but that's expensive on writ large. So it's still steam-based. So, like it or not, something creates heat. Heat warms water. Water turns to steam. Water turns wheels. And there's your whole electric power grid. So this is, the U.S. government could walk in and do something about it, but they're not, because the owners of the government are making lots of money. Okay, now we're going to go into more of what's going on the battlefield writ large. So But before we go into what's going on, I'm going to cover ground forces. And I may have been wrong. I mean, I wasn't wrong in what I was describing of what's going to happen, or will happen, if the U.S. tries to put these ground forces in. I may have been wrong about to think that there was any amount of sanity or even human decency left in these cretins that run the U.S. government. It looks like they may actually pull the U.S. Military ground forces into its own meat grinder. I mean, they're planning on they're pulling in another 2,500 Marines on a Marine Expeditionary Unit, so it's a landing unit. Now, if they're going to go to Carr Island, they have to get past the Straits of Hormuz. How many people are you going to lose along the way? Never mind, you can't supply Carr Island effectively without being hit all the time. Never mind, you can't sit on Carr Island without drones hunting you day and night. Taking the beaches of the Straits of Hormuz is going to be crinky writ large. Crinky where the Ukrainians put down 2 battalions of Marines, and Russian military turned them into mincemeat over a period of about 4 months. But it looks like they may actually go. They may actually do this. Tell me, the Americans who are listening, how many casualties are you going to suck up before you get into the streets? Casualties are already high. Now you drop 2,500 Marines on a beach there. Questionable how many of them are going to come back alive, period, let alone, whole. But they're gonna continue to escalate. They have no choice. He said multiple times, "This is over. It's over. We won." But he can't go away from this for one simple reason: Iran's still firing, and it's still firing very effectively. Israel is getting hammered. They cannot walk away from this. The owner-donor class isn't going to let them walk away from this. They don't know what to do. There's another rally that was held in Israel, anti-Zionist rally, anti-government rally. It's still small, but it's a lot bigger than the previous one. The previous one was less than 50 people. Look at the picture on this one. You can see there's a lot more people there. But Israel is being pounded every single day, day and night. Romania, by the way, is within range of pounding too. This, if you look at the map here, you can see that Romania is well within range of getting pounded. And Romania has now signed up to be the airport for the U.S. B-52s. Though those B-52s, Iran can reach out and touch them. It probably will. Yeah, and they're further panicked as Russia's continuing to up its support for Iran, according to at least the U.S. papers. And I believe they're actually right on this. And Russia has lots and lots more experience on drone warfare, 4 years of active experience in drone warfare. And like I say, it's taken the Iranian-based drones, it's modified them up to something that only has a shape, basically, of the previous drones in the 3 years that it took to up and modify them and battle test them. And those drones and that technology has bled back into Iran, and Iran has used them on its drones. Oh, so is the U.S., by the way. The U.S., like I said, the Lucas drone is an absolute copy of the Gran 3 drone. But the problem is, for the U.S., Iran won't stop shooting. And it's escalated its demands, peace demands on the U.S. It no longer is just asking written guarantees that there will be no more aggression toward Iran. It wants the U.S. out of the Persian Gulf, and it's demanding compensation, restoration. I'm pretty sure the 90% of the U.S. Congress would rather eat their children's liver. They wouldn't do do to themselves, of course, and definitely your children's livers before they would ever pay Iran for the damages that they've caused Iran. So we're at an impasse. Where does this go? Well, it continues erasing American presence up and down the Middle East, which I think for the American people is a good thing. It gets one more area that Fifth Fleet can go bugger itself and go join up with some other fleet. One more area U.S. taxpayer is not going to have to spend money on for the American Epstein elites to get rich off of. One more area that the U.S. taxpayer doesn't have to send their kids to die off on so that the Epstein class in America can get richer. Epstein, let that just sink in constantly. Epstein, the people that murder and eat children are running your country and are willing to sacrifice your children, your sons and daughters and your husbands for this. Just let that continuously sink into your heads. The Epstein class. Now, Israel's having problems too, supply problems. India had a major fire. 50 people, workers and engineers were killed in the main plant that's manufacturing various drones for Israel. And you see the pictures of that fire. So, yeah. So Israel's having supply side issues, obviously. And India, it's just, ever since Modi sold India down the road to, for whatever reasons, besides that little Star of David and medal that they gave him in the Knesset and a slap on the ass, India's not having a good time of it. Their main new supplier of oil is out of the game for quite a while. Russia is no longer giving them any discounts. Instead, is actually surcharging them. So everything's gotten more expensive, and they'll be losing several $1 billion. And they import 90% of their oil. When you do stupid things, stupid should hurt, and it's hurting. And now this, I'm sure cost of living in India is going to be going up quite a bit. Quite a bit. I wouldn't be surprised if Modi hasn't sold out Indian farmers by now. On some deal he's working on with Trump to buy up American agro products. I mean, once you go down that road of betrayal, it's pretty hard to stop. Slippery slope. Before you're just a total whore, open to anybody, as long as they cha-ching you. Like Hillary Clinton, in this case, with the Clinton fund, pay-to-play fund. And while we're at it, I mean, the degeneracy in the White House, and I'm sure most everybody has seen these videos. That I don't have one up here. I'm not going to play them because it's giving them airtime. But the White House and the Department of War have been producing these videos of battle damage they're doing, and they're splicing in macaroni, well, whatever. The music, the dance, that was hot in the early 90s till everybody was puking from it because it wouldn't stop playing it. They're splicing in videos from video games, like setups, like boom, and then something blows up a plane. I mean, never mind, this is like 12-year-old stuff. I'm not 12-year-old as in it's 12 years old, but like for a 12-year-old child. This is the mentality level that they're playing at. And at least have the decency when you're showing that you're destroying things and killing people, not to gamify it into some kind of, it's like, I guess they're trying, I don't know, they're trying to recruit the next wave of the military for the 15, 16, 17-year-olds. That's the feeling I get. They're so desperate. Look, it's like a big video game. Yeah, it's a big party. We're blowing things up. And I'm getting blown up too, but we don't talk about that. No, that we don't talk about it. So this video is from Fujairah, the UAE. Tower burning was hit by a drone. It was hit by a drone because the UAE is continuing to allow American bases to operate there and continue to allow U.S. to conduct hits on Iran. So Iran's responded. And Bahrain, this video that you're watching is Bahrain firing missiles. Actually, Bahrain firing missiles into Iran, not the U.S. military. So Bahrain's now fully in this regional war, which of course means for Bahrain, bye-bye to all of its infrastructure. And if Bahrain does something stupid enough to start hitting key pieces of infrastructure, Bahrain loses its water desalination plants, and that's 80% of its population lives off of that. It literally do not have enough water to drink. Never mind, there's rumors that the king of Bahrain has already fled or fleeing the country. Let's remember, the Saudis have moved their security forces into Bahrain across that long bridge to the island because the 80% Shia are revolting against the 20% Sunni that rule over them, dominate them, domineer over them, keep them poor. So this is one of those little island countries that is about to flip. And if the water goes out, I'm sure who's ever left of the Sunnis that aren't smart enough to run are going to be dragged through the streets, or their corpses will be dragged through the streets by the crowds. I mean, this is what it's always been, a powder keg waiting to explode, and now the U.S. has made sure to drop plenty and plenty of napalm on top of it, burning napalm on that powder keg. U.S. bases, like I said, U.S. bases continue to get hit. El Dafra Air Base suffered a lot of hits. And interesting enough, as the U.S. is demanding that Turkey get in the war, The Hill published a piece identifying Hell Bank, which is tied to the government, as helping Iran get around sanctions. They just get the pressure there going a little higher between the two countries. As the U.S. is demanding, it's not even asking, it's demanding Turkey start a war with Iran. And the Turks are going, maybe not. And interesting things happened. There's a fire that was going in the air liquid facility, which is in this case an oil storage facility in Texas. That's the video you're watching right now. So, was it started by an act of man, that is, terrorism or artisans, or was it a technological issue? We don't know. I haven't checked on it, to be honest, so I don't know. But it is a fire, so it is. It's a small hit. I mean, one of those cisterns burning. Ukraine's blown up plenty of those cisterns. They get replaced pretty quick. Sure, you lose the oil that's in that cistern, but it's not that much on a grander scheme of things. Maybe if you were a small village, oh crap. But on a grander scheme of a country, that's not that much. The video you're now watching is southern Beirut, by the way, which is Christian zones. This is after Israeli bombings. The Israelis are continuing to bomb and try to genocide Lebanon. The very people, by the way, on Facebook and everywhere else are screaming, "Oh, it's war crimes against us." Yeah, okay. Yeah, because you're innocent. Because you don't do genocide except everybody around you. So it was still amazing that Jordanians and Egyptians are sitting there. Their government is so bought and paid for. They're sitting there thinking, what? You'll survive last and they'll eat you last in the Greater Israel Project? It's amazing. I mean, when people act that way, really against their own self-interest. At least the self-interest of their countries. Maybe not their own pocket's self-interest. That's a little bit of a different thing. But that's where we're at. This video is of another school that was hit. Luckily, Iran has from day one sent after the massacre. Iran gave an order. The government gave an order and sent everybody home. Maybe distance learning or just sit it out. Because again, look, this school was hit by the U.S. Again, bad maps or Palantirs in charge. This kind of lying crap only goes so far. It didn't work in Nuremberg. I was only following orders. Does not work. No, it doesn't. Now, the video you're about to watch, just to understand which way America is rolling. I'm going to close out on this video. Because under normal circumstances, you'd probably say, it's clown world. But under present circumstances, I wouldn't go that far. This is the preacher, the personal preacher, the spiritual leader of the head of war, Hegseth. He is the Lord of war, and this is the preacher moving that man's mind to war. Listen to what he says. If you're Catholics, And this will go for Orthodox too, because we do processions around the churches, things like that. Listen to what he says. This is the country of freedom, and this is going toward American citizens. It's not only just ban any kind of Muslim demonstration of faith. If it's legal and they got a permit for it, that's one thing. If they come out in a street somewhere and just start doing whatever they're doing, no matter who's the group, that's obviously illegal, and you can't do that. But if they have a permit and the government's allowed them, you can go and you can complain to government, you can vote out the government. But this is also for Catholics, including in all. What he's proposing is in Catholic neighborhoods or Catholic heavy cities. There are cities in America that are majority Catholic. He wants to ban a Christian faith from being able to practice Christianity because it's not his Christianity. So it's not Protestant. Well, that's great. It's not Protestant. Which group of Protestants while we're at it? Because between you evangelical Zionists and say the Lutherans or say the Anglicans, there's a world of difference. But listen to what he says. And I'm closing out on that. And this should get anybody that's in America worried that these people are getting airtime, and this guy is not that far away. I mean, he is part of that group that, holy Trump, the Messiah, who was deemed by the Messiah to bring us to the end of the world. This is part of that crowd, that 20-something preachers. They're standing there on blessed, oh great Trump, lead us to all glory and Armageddon. I mean, listen to these guys. You should be worried if you're living in America. You should definitely be worried. These are the people that are coming to power. I mean, Johnson was telling me about, I heard about the brigade commanders, which is mind-boggling to me. I spent 11 years in the U.S. Army. I shut up sergeants sort of like that, and they take it off duty. Don't bring it on duty. You got brigade commanders that are coming in doing these kinds of speeches. And Larry's telling me about a 3-star general. I mean, that's how far the U.S. has gone very, very quickly down the road. And, they obviously nobody in high positions of command is getting picked because they're combat capable officers. They were getting picked because they were politically sound for which party was in power for the last 25 or so years, 20 years. And now they're being picked because they subscribe to a radical pseudo-Christian cult that, by the way, refutes the very main tenets of Christian theology. And these are the people that are now running the American government. This is how far down that rabbit hole you've gone. The back, it may have already been getting closed off behind you. That tunnel may be already collapsing behind you. Where do you go now? This is the country that you've just woken up to and went, holy crap. And the whole world's looking at you going, holy crap. What have we got on our hands? I've been telling Russians for 3 years about this. And a lot of people in Russia, I mean, a lot of looked at me like I was insane. Some understood and oh, wow. A few more knew, very few. And a lot of them are now just waking up going, holy crap, you're right. Oh, I guess I was right. It's not because I'm brilliant, because I grew up around these people. I mean, I know what these people think. It's just a matter of how far they've now penetrated into the reins of it and grabbed the reins of power. By the way, and I'm still questioning whether they'll ever be elections in November, but we'll see. Anyways, watch this video, leave your commentary, spread these videos to your friends. I keep forgetting to say these things. Like them, spread them. And sign up. Sign up. The more people that sign up, the more the algorithm feeds, and the more likes these videos gets, the more the algorithm feeds, pushes out, and pushes the next video out automatically, and so on. So let's play the algorithm here. Hit like, hit subscribe. God bless, and listen to the video.
Let me give you a couple of very practical examples. Okay. Could Muslims be here? Live? Yes, they could be. Could they hold political office? No. Could Muslims gather together with their Muslim family and friends to pray to Allah? Yes. All right. Could you have a mosque? Yes. Could they have a minaret, a prayer tower that issues a public call to prayer? No, because the public spaces belong to Christ. Right? We're a Christian nation. So church bells are okay. Church bells are okay, but a Muslim call to prayer in the public space would not be okay. Catholic church bells would be okay, right? Catholic church bells would be okay, but a parade in honor of the Virgin Mary, carrying an image of the Virgin Mary down Main Street, no, right? So
What about the
basically
Eucharist? What about the Eucharist? What about a Eucharistic procession?
That's a new one. I would say probably not. It would depend on what was being done around it, how it was being conducted. But basically, public displays of idolatry, what the Protestant foundation of the law would consider to be idolatry, would not be allowed. So you wouldn't have a Hindu procession with a Hindu god. You wouldn't have a procession of the Virgin Mary.